and welcome to another 101 class. Today it's all about Superman, Red Sun. So sit down, stick around, and enjoy. Now I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on this book here, on Superman, Red Sun, to begin. This was written by Mark Millar, the same guy who wrote Ultimates, Kick-Ass, War Heroes, this 1985. The same guy that I've been bragging about a lot lately in his work. So definitely a great writer, writing a very neat story. Now what DC kind of has what Marvel has. Marvel has the comics that are called What If, and it's what if this would happen, like a certain situation. Like what if, I once had shown you guys what if Spider-Man hadn't married Mary Jane. DC has their own version of this. It's called Elseworld, and the Superman Red Sun takes place in a Elseworld storyline. And what it is, it's basically what if Superman would have landed 18 hours earlier than when he did. Superman would have landed in Russia as opposed to landing on American soil. And it's just pretty much what it is. What if Superman were to land in Russia? And that's the premise of this whole book. Naturally, a lot of things are different. Superman landing in Russia during in 1938, and growing up in Russia, naturally Superman will be a communist. And it's kind of like, it's a neat story because mainly you have the ultimate big brother watching you. You have Superman. You know what I mean? Communism is all about big brother, people watching other people. And this guy's the ultimate guy for it. I mean, super hearing, X-ray vision, can fly around, you know what I mean? Like, this guy is the ultimate in Big Brother, the ultimate in seeing and hearing and watching everything going on. So it's really a neat concept. Naturally, some other characters of the DC universe are in this book as well. Originally, this was published as a 3-part miniseries, then recollected in this traded paperback here. I'm just going to go through a few interesting notes about what exactly happens here. In this story, Superman lands in Russia, in Ukraine. He's raised by Russians. When he gets older, he tells himself, well, I'm going to have to go do something. I want to help the communist regime. I want to help out Russia. So he moves to the capital and then gets involved with Joseph Stalin. And eventually Stalin preps him to become the next president of Russia. And that's what he does. He becomes the next president of Russia. While on the American side, Lex Luthor, one of the biggest, most intelligent individuals in the United States of America, is always trying to develop a way to defeat Superman, because naturally the Americans are kind of jealous in the sense that the US that Russia has Superman, because if Russia has Superman, then basically they run the show, right? So America wants to try to defeat him. So what they do is they basically give Luthor what he needs, all the money he needs, and Luthor, with his great IQ, keeps bringing on new adversaries for Superman, and Mongol Parasite, Bizarro. Bizarro is actually the American version of Superman, which is kind of neat. Always trying to defeat Superman, but at the same time respecting Superman. And as time goes by, Superman gets more and more and more big in Russia. Communism takes over the world, except for in America. America, communism never takes hold. And Superman gets basically pissed off and in the end, tries to force his will on America. As before, he didn't try to force his will on anybody. All he would do was just spread the propaganda, and everybody would eventually turn over to communism. But America never did. Superman will go on as Russian president. They'll kind of have an alliance with Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman will kind of love Superman, actually, but Superman will never love Wonder Woman. Superman only loves one thing, and that's his country. He doesn't, I guess he's not into the whole relationship type thing, which is kind of neat. Another thing that's kind of cool is Batman plays a role in this book as well. Batman he's got a cool origin actually in this book. What happens is some of Stalin's goons go into a place where they're actually making anti-Superman propaganda, leaflets and flyers and all that. And he's going to come in there, these individuals that work for the Russian, the KGB probably. They come in and there's this couple, this man, woman, and their child. And the man and woman are making these anti-Superman leaflets. So they actually assassinate the man and woman. And they just leave the child there. And the child looks pretty pissed, watching his dead parents. And you can tell already that this child will grow up to become Batman. And you'll notice later on, like when Batman actually becomes Batman in the series, he's kind of like a vigilante like he is now. Definitely not multi-millionaire, which is kind of neat, living in a communist nation. He lives in the sewers, kind of like a Ninja Turtle. But definitely still cool, still fighting crime, or fighting what he calls crime and oppression. He's not with the communist regime. He wants communism to end, and he's against Superman. Which is cool. Batman will eventually die in this book. I'm not exactly going to tell you guys how he dies. If you want to read it, you'll see. But he will die in this book. He doesn't play a huge role in the book, but he is there, and he is kind of cool to see in there. Other people actually that play a role is kind of interesting is when Luthor is finally at his ends with how to beat Superman. The government actually gives him clearance and brings him to Area 51 in order to say that we have alien technology, we've always had it. And it's kind of neat when he goes down there and finds this UFO in Area 51. The interesting part is the UFO is actually a Green Lantern spaceship. And he asked what they found with it, and they found the lantern in the ring, which is really cool. So Luthor forms this whole Green Lantern corps, this whole army of super Green Lanterns mimicking the technology. And they attack Superman, and they talk to each other, so you kind of hear their names. And there's Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan, which is the leader of the group, and there's also Guy Gardner. So they're actually using real Green Lantern people. Real people who have been the Green Lantern in the book, which is kind of neat. I like that part of it. In the end, Superman defeats himself. After Brainiac does something to one of Superman's cities, shrinks it down, causes Superman to go really on edge trying to figure out a way to bring the city back to its normal size. Finally, Lex Luthor will beat Superman on an intelligence level. And Superman will ultimately crumble in front of Lex Luthor's intelligence in one of the most dramatic, probably scenes or panels in modern comic history, in my opinion, anyway. So if that's not a definite reason to read this, nothing is. We'll later learn something neat as well. There is kind of a twist ending to this book. For those of you who don't want to hear about the twist ending, you can stop watching now. For those of you who do want to hear about the twist ending, I'm going to continue. What happens here in the end is Superman goes on and lives a normal life. After he gives up the communist regime, everything goes kind of the way of a one society type thing, but with capitalism, and the world progresses. Superman hides out with his secret identity, and pretty much he stays there on Earth, But as time goes by, Superman will die, and generations go by, and they say generations to the 50th power later on in life. Descendants of Lex Luthor, which are now called elves. There's this man called Jor-El, and Jor-El goes into his living quarters to see his wife and their baby. And he says the sun now, which is no longer bright yellow-orange, it's red. He said, the sun's dying, nobody's listening to me. We have to make a decision, we have to send our child back in order to save us. And his wife says, well, where are we going to send him? He says, we're going to send him back far enough. So that the yellow sun and the orange sun will make him the most powerful man on Earth. And he will know how to unite the world and how to save us from this catastrophe. So they put their son, Kal-El, in a ship, send him back in time, and he lands back in the Ukraine in 1938. And we start all over again. So basically, Superman isn't an alien at all. Superman is human.